Welcome back to the City Current Show. I'm your host, Jeremy Park. We're always honored to bring you inspiring stories of individuals and organizations making a difference and powering the good. And we're honored to be with our next guest, Rokeisha Bryant, Executive Director of Cafe Momentum Nashville. How are you doing, Rokeisha?
I'm doing fantastic. Thank you for having me on the show today.
Absolutely. So your shirt says it all: eat, drink, and change lives. So there's a lot to what you do, but let's start with kind of the origins of this. And it starts with an organization in Dallas. And so give us a little bit of the model that starts with Dallas.
Yes. And so it started in Dallas, Texas, about 6 years ago. Chad Hauser, our CEO and founder, is an executive chef. And he had an opportunity to go work with some young men at a detention center to do an ice cream competition. When he did that, he was touched by their stories and wanted to do something to make sure he created pathways for opportunity when they exited the detention center. And so from that experience, Cafe Momentum was created, and he started having pop-up dinners to raise funds for him to create it. And today, Cafe Momentum Dallas is running very well. It provides all type of services for young people. It's a 12-month paid internship. And so in 2019, we had the NFL draft in Nashville. And Chad had a few people come to Dallas and say, you need to have this in Nashville. And so that was an opportunity for him to partner with the NFL and appease Judge Sheila Calloway, because she was requesting this to come to Nashville. And so they started to kind of scout out Nashville as a location. And so fast forward to 2021, and we are getting up and running here in Nashville.
And so when you think about the culinary side of this, there's a lot of job opportunities, obviously, and you have the chef side, the food makers, but you also have the front line and the service workers. So when you look at running a restaurant, so to speak, there's a lot that goes into it in terms of job opportunities, but also just leadership and skills that translate over to life. And so talk about kind of that side, the training, as you mentioned, 12-month, what that transformation looks like for the youth.
Okay, and so our program has 4 tiers of success. You start off with the orientation. You're referred. This is not a mandatory program. And so you're referred by someone and you go through orientation. That's where you're learning about what you're going to embark on for those 12 months and getting some basic understanding of the community service learning side of things, because there is a community service center that I always want to make sure people are aware of. The restaurant is just an avenue, not just, but it's an avenue for young people to have enrichment in their lives, to learn those skills that are transferable to any particular career that they want to choose for themselves. And so making sure they understand there's an educational component. All of our young people are in some type of way involved in education. And we actually in Dallas have our own home school. They receive counseling voluntarily. About 75% of them choose that option. They receive workforce development skills. They receive housing, if they need that. They have a case manager and an LPC counselor that's there for them. And then a career readiness specialist who's helping them do their resume writing and all the different things. And then creating partnerships so that once they complete the program, they can go off to other jobs that will mirror some of the skills that they learned at Cafe Momentum. And so making sure during orientation that's clear is, the first step. In tier 1, they are compensated. And with each tier, they increase their compensation by $1. And so they'll start off, doing front of the house, which is everything from reception to hosting, bussing tables, waiting tables, running food. And then they'll rotate to the back of the house where they're paired with chefs. The chef in Dallas actually used to work at the Ritz-Carlton, and she was a pastry chef. And so that's usually one of the harder stations because it involves so much math and you have to be really precise. But it's about taking those skill sets that you see in yourself and then figuring out after you complete the program at tier 4, what else you want to do in your life. And then we're also going to stick around to make sure that we help you with that.
Talk about the benefits, because obviously, going through this program, it does prepare them for huge opportunities ahead. And when you look at the service industry and how big of an industry that is in Nashville, that's a lot of job opportunities on that side. At the same time, it's a restaurant, so the public can engage and be able to come out and see this. And very much like a social enterprise, you have a chance to engage and to be a part of the mission work every single day in terms of being a patron and supporting this mission and this work.
Absolutely. It's amazing. It's actually social entrepreneurship at its finest. The young people will greet you at the table and they'll say, have you been here before? And if not, they're going to let you know about how it's changed their lives, where they were before this and where they're going now. And so it definitely helps to change the conversation, because one of our backdrops is about juvenile justice reform. And so the service industry in Nashville is just, primed and ready for something like this. But it's really exciting that a lot of people don't realize this goes beyond, just service work. They're learning the customer service skills. They're learning, how to do the purchasing and ordering. And so all of those skill sets, I think, is something that Nashville needs in terms of our service industry. We're having partners that are in hospitality, so it can caveat into a job at a hotel. And with our tourism going up daily, I think that this is something that'll help the young people and the patrons and the community.
Talk about capacity. What's the goal in terms of number of youth going through the programs? Give us some of those things you're looking at strategically on the number side.
And so we usually do cohorts where they'll start with the orientation and then work the program. Usually there's about 30 young people per cohort. And, in Dallas, they're serving about 150 young people per year. And so that's, the actual model that we're charged with replicating across the United States. Nashville was the first to actually replicate that program. And so that's our goal. And I'm sure, with time and we reach our full capacity, we'll be doing the same numbers.
Talk about where you are, because as you mentioned, you're still in kind of a soft launch stage in terms of building capacity and getting this thing going. So talk about where you are right now in the process.
Yes. Where are we at in the process? I am pulling from all the buckets. And so I am currently looking to secure property in a specific location, 37208 in Nashville. There is a history of incarceration in that community dating back to, 2 or 3 generations ago. And so definitely being in that community is really important to me. That's also a community that's currently experiencing a lot of growth. And so being creative with where we're going to put that location is really important. And then keeping in mind that community service center, making sure that we have that. If it can be within walking distance, that's ideal. And so looking for property, really getting close right now to signing a lease. And so hopeful about that. I'm going to start a mini program because we're not scheduled to open until April of 2022. And so in the interim, I would love to have young people engaged in some of our services in the meantime. I'm also looking for funding. And so we're constantly meeting with different foundations, public, private, and just making sure that people understand what we're doing and how they can invest in our initiative. Simultaneously, just raising awareness about juvenile justice reform and the importance of it, and how we can create pathways. And so right now, just a lot of different things to pull that off. And then eventually, we will hire staff. My first order of business is to hire an amazing chef who understands positive youth development and a counselor who will make sure that we're able to put all those pieces together and make sure it's a nice fit.
The good news is you're following a model that has proven success. And so being able to say, hey, look, here's what we're doing, but here's what you can point to say, look, this is exactly what we're replicating, and obviously making it its own Nashville flavor. But you've got a proven model that you're basing it on, which is extremely helpful in terms of raising awareness, building capacity, raising dollars, and getting this thing moving along. What on your end, talk about the pop-ups, because you've got these kind of pop-up opportunities as well. And so talk about some of the pop-ups that are going on or that you're looking to create.
And so the pop-ups are really exciting. It's an opportunity for us to display what's coming. It's an opportunity for us to build awareness and all the things that you just said. We had one back in August, and that was our market entry pop-up. That's part of our model. We do those so that people can know we're here and what the needs are. And so we had 9 young people from community-based organizations, as well as 2 that were actually in the detention center. And what we do is we train them. We do team building and train them on some of the front of the house house aspects of running a restaurant. We buy out a restaurant and pair them with a chef and the chef's team. They come up with the menu together. They, help prepare the meals. And then we bring in people from the public and we sell tickets. And we had a 5-course meal. I talked to someone recently at a restaurant and he said we may be able to do a 20-course meal. And that just really, and so it's really about partnering with chefs and taking their passion, making sure it aligns with our mission and allowing our young people to experience that chef, that restaurant, and then displaying what can be done in a matter of 3 days. And so we've done that already in Nashville and it was quite successful. My goal is to have another one towards the end of this year, February at the latest, just based off, again, restaurants are really hustle bustle right now, and continue to have those maybe every month until we actually open our restaurant.
What's been the feedback? And you kind of alluded to it, is with the chefs on that side and the restaurant, and then obviously for the youth to be able to come in, what's been that feedback, that energy so far?
Oh, the feedback has been amazing. I personally gave feedback, when I first started the position, I knew about the restaurant. They flew me out to Dallas. I was able to see everything. And a lot of those young people, they had been in the program for a couple of months, some had been in the program and were about to graduate. And so I was very, very impressed. And when they explained the concept of a pop-up, I was like, okay, so we're going to train young people, have them serve in the kitchen. And, 3 days, it's really going to happen. And to see it happen, I think just speaks to the power of relationship and believing in young people. I was sitting there during their training and I couldn't remember simple things, the glass goes over here, the bread. And so I had to remember bread over here, drinks over here, serve from the right or left. I think I just messed that up. And so just even those things, I got nervous. And so when I went to the pop-up, I was overly impressed. Not a glass of water was empty. The young people executed with precision. And so most people thought they had been together for months. And so it was really important to make sure that that's a part of the narrative. Those young people trained for 3 days. And so you can only imagine what we're able to accomplish after 12 months.
Yeah, that's awesome. What's something that you wish everyone knew when you talk about just what you're looking to create, what makes it special? What's something you wish everyone knew?
I just wish everyone knew about the potential of these young people. They may have done something in their past, but it doesn't dictate their future. And so just the power, again, of, believing in someone, giving them a sense of purpose, making sure they understand that their voices are being heard, and that they're not a product of their environment. And so when you put that together and then you give them a skill set that they can take anywhere in the world, that's powerful. That's what a lot of adults are looking for in their lives when they're not on track. And so the earlier that we can intercede on their behalf, our program is for ages 15 to 19, the better. And so just understanding the power of believing in these young people, and they are not, they are not what they did. They are not what they did. And so,
yeah, there's a central theme to me of hope and healing and opportunity, I think, that kind of flows throughout. And especially, when you look at the restaurant industry and wait staff, really, especially, you look at Hollywood and the entertainment industry, that's where big breaks are formed. Is, someone was a waiter and met someone, really powerful, and they impressed them and they gave them an opportunity. And it's like, you never know, the power of the service industry can lead to amazing transformation, but it provides hope, healing, and opportunities for these youth that really can put them on the right track for their trajectory in their life. And so I think there's a lot of powerful, just underlying elements of what you're doing and creating. Talk about how we can help and where we can go. So you mentioned, obviously, fundraising is a big piece of this. You mentioned you're on the lookout, obviously, and hopefully about to sign a lease, but talk about the ways the community can help.
Well, there's 3 ways that you can help. You can refer us to community partners, because we need to make sure we have a village of wraparound services so that we can create that ecosystem of support. And so that's just whoever that has a passion for what they do, that can be helpful. And so mentors, community partners, anything that you think could be helpful, refer them to us. And then, the young people, we need referrals as well. And so a lot of our referrals obviously are coming through the main pipeline, through the juvenile detention center. but there may be some young people who are out of that system right now that may want to tap back in and get themselves on a new path. And so referrals are really important. As you mentioned, investments, I can't stress that enough. And so investments of time, which goes back to mentorship, investments of actual finances that can't be understated, ongoing. And then we have our Momentum Society. And so people could feel free to join that. That's for inaugural members. Excuse me, that's for inaugural donors. And so if you choose to become a Momentum Society member, once we open our restaurant, it's almost like your VIP status. And so not only are you're giving, you get some things on the other side of that. And so once we open the restaurant, your name will be plastered on the wall into perpetuity. And so I think that'll be really nice to know that you were part of that inauguration. And so that, and we're hosting screenings of our documentary. There's a 45-minute documentary to show people exactly what's being done in Dallas. And so it'd be awesome to have small screenings of that. And then once we start to sell our tickets to our pop-up dinner, please come out and join us. And obviously when we open our doors, we would love to have you celebrate some of your anniversaries, birthdays, and special occasions with us and just hear the stories of our young people.
So last question is the easy one. Where do we go to learn more and to reach out and get in touch with you?
Well, you can go to cafemomentum.org, and that is going to take you to Dallas. We're still building out our restaurant for Nashville. You can also, I think you're going to hopefully put some of the things in the link when you post this. And so I have a landing page for you to sign up to receive more information as we build momentum, literally in Nashville. You can be a part of it and have an inside scoop. We also have social media channels. And so Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and that's Cafe Momentum NSH, and you can find us there.
Well, Rokeisha, greatly appreciate all you're doing and definitely look forward to a bright future ahead for Cafe Momentum Nashville. So thank you for all you do and for coming on the show.
I appreciate you for having me. I look forward to seeing you again as we continue to build momentum.